Bueno, pues buenas tardes, bienvenidos a este nuevo webinar de los organizados por it-latino.net. Webinars gratuitos, formativos, informativos para toda nuestra amplia comunidad, tanto en España como en Latinoamérica. Los webinars, como ya sabéis, se graban en su totalidad y se publican en nuestra red de portales. En este caso, al ser un webinar relacionado con el Business Intelligence, lo publicaremos en bay-spain.com. Recordaros que en demosdesoftware.com tenemos una librería de casi 700 webinars grabados y que los webinars los podéis ver, los vídeos de las grabaciones los podéis ver con capítulos, lo cual facilita mucho la visualización y el seguimiento de los webinars. La resolución también es perfecta en Demos de Software. Publicamos también los webinars en youtube.com/videosite.com íntegramente también. En este caso, lógicamente, no tenéis capítulos para poder ver los webinars. Bien, yo soy Daniel Alguacil, estoy aquí en San Cugat, en las oficinas centrales de it-latino.net. it-latino.net es el organizador del webinar y, como sabéis, uno de los portales que editamos es bay-spain.com, dedicado al Business Intelligence. Tenemos otros, pues muchos portales, otro dedicado al rp-spain.com, cms-spain.com, bpm de Business Process Management-spain.com, rfid-spain.com, seguridadmanía.com, que es un portal dedicado a la tecnología para la seguridad física, en la que muchas veces tiene también que ver con el análisis y los sistemas analíticos. Y, en fin, tenemos un amplio elenco de portales dedicados exclusivamente a las tecnologías de la información. El webinar tiene el siguiente formato. Durante aproximadamente unos 45 minutos el ponente hará su presentación, hará una demostración del software. Siempre la incluimos porque estos webinars son ideales para este tipo de demostraciones, y posteriormente pasaremos a un turno de preguntas que haremos tanto vosotros como yo. Bueno, pues sin ir más lejos, voy a pasar la palabra hoy al presentador, al ponente que tenemos hoy, que, como sabéis, es un experto de la empresa Ingres. Ingres es una empresa holandesa, aunque ahora nos lo confirmarán, una empresa holandesa focalizada y experta en lo que son bases de datos, que se han venido a decir bases de datos analíticas. Son bases de datos que vienen a enfrentarse a lo que son las bases de datos tradicionales y están pensadas especialmente para mejorar el performance, para mejorar el rendimiento de las consultas en Business Intelligence a grandísimas bases de datos. Conocemos todos algunos nombres, y además últimamente está bastante en boga este tipo de base de datos, dado que las cantidades de datos que se están analizando en las empresas y las organizaciones son cada vez más grandes, ¿no? El caso de Ingres es uno de los fabricantes más reconocidos y, como os digo, es un fabricante holandés. Por parte de Ingres nos va a hablar Mark van de Biel. Él está en los Estados Unidos y vamos a pasarle ya la presentación. Mark, I'm going to open you the mic. And now,
thank you.
I pass you the presentation. I tell you when, okay, we are seeing your desktop. When you want, you can start.
Okay, thank you very much for this introduction. So welcome everyone, and thank you for attending today's webinar. My name is Mark van der Wiel. I'm the Director of Product Management for the VectorWise database. And VectorWise, as I will try to explain throughout this webinar, is genuinely the world's fastest database. That is a very bold claim, so I think it's justified that I spend 45 minutes or so to explain why I believe VectorWise is genuinely the world's fastest database, and I will also allow you to ask any questions so that any remaining topics you would like to discuss we can answer. So what I'd like to talk about today is, first of all, the VectorWise technology. VectorWise is a relational data, so it's exciting technology, and I'd like to share with you why, from a technology point of view, I believe VectorWise is the world's fastest database. I will also quickly discuss the company Ingres. Ingres is the company that brings the VectorWise technology to the market, so it's good to understand what Ingres is and where we come from. And then I'll have a few use cases. So some of the early adopters of the VectorWise technology, I'll describe their use cases. And then finally, I'll wrap up this presentation and suggest a few next steps for you to go through. So first of all, what is VectorWise? VectorWise is a database that was optimized for reporting and data analysis. It's a relational database, so you would expect you can run SQL statements that you might be familiar with against this database. You can use industry standard connectivity such as ODBC or JDBC or .NET in order to connect to the VectorWise database and run your SQL statements. Many general purpose tools use types of connections, so ODBC, JDBCs, or .NET, so that you can run these tools against VectorWise. But really what's unique about VectorWise technology is that it's written to take advantage of specific performance features that are available in modern CPUs. The performance features have been in modern CPUs for quite a while, so some of the specific functionality that VectorWise takes advantage of has been around for more than 10 years. However, if you compare VectorWise to most relational databases, then you'll notice that most relational databases go back 20, 30 years to a source code line, similar to Ingres, frankly, that has evolved over time. There are some performance features in CPUs that many databases can take advantage of transparently, such as multiple cores in CPUs, higher clock speed. Those are examples. However, if you look at into the real of today's modern chips, you'll notice that there's many other performance features, and most database technology simply does not take advantage of those capabilities. And frankly, it cannot easily without having to rewrite code. VectorWise, because it's written from zero, does take advantage of some of these performance features. The result of the technology is that VectorWise can process large volumes of data incredibly fast, much faster, I claim, than any other database, and I'll make that claim in a minute. The good thing about having faster performance is that as a result of that, there's no special tuning required to achieve fast performance. You don't have to implement tricks in order to get fast performance for a certain type of queries. Simply the raw data processing performance is extremely high. Also, or again as a result of that, you can implement a BI solution scaling to many terabytes of data in a very affordable manner, because you suddenly don't need as much hardware as you would need otherwise in order to implement a large-scale BI system. So let me support my claim that VectorWise is a very fast database by showing you the current state of the 1 terabyte TPCH benchmark. So you'll notice that well, VectorWise published the result last May, and you can see that the performance is significantly higher than the previous performance number. It's not easy to compare those numbers directly, considering the way it's computed, but I think it's very clear that on a linear scale, which we have on the vertical axis here, on a linear scale, VectorWise performs quite a lot better than the previous world record number. If you go back, you'll see increases similar to the ones you see on those gray bars, the first 4 gray bars over time, which indicate that, yeah, sure, there was some improvement over time. Sometimes improvements were due to improvements in the software, but more often than not, better performance numbers were produced simply because, well, the hardware had improved. Maybe the CPUs were faster. Maybe there was a little bit more memory in the server, and as a result of that, somebody produced a better number. The 5, 10, 15% increases you've seen over time are obviously significantly surpassed by VectorWise when we published a record number on May 3rd. What's also interesting to notice is that if we look at the hardware configuration that was used to produce the VectorWise world record number, it had, well, roughly the amount of resources in the server than the previous world record number had. So here comes along VectorWise, 2.5x better performance number whilst using roughly half the amount of hardware. And that's where VectorWise, so that is really, I believe, unique. And as I mentioned earlier, I believe that with that, VectorWise is indeed a very fast database. If you normalize the VectorWise performance numbers on a per CPU cycle basis, whether you compare the benchmarks results that I show you here, or whether you take any other benchmark results that are independently validated and available on the internet, then you would know that, or then you would find out that VectorWise is in fact the fastest database on a per CPU cycle basis. So with that, I claim that VectorWise is indeed the world's fastest database. Now, let's drill a little bit further into the technology. So why can VectorWise perform data so much faster than any other relational database? Most importantly, VectorWise implements breakthrough technology that no other relational database implements. Vector processing is a key feature or a key element of VectorWise technology, as you would imagine, looking at its name, VectorWise. With vector processing, VectorWise will take arrays of data and apply functions to that data on a vector basis. As a result of that, on average, a computation on a data element might take less than a single CPU cycle, simply because CPUs are so efficient these days that if you provide them with the right set of instructions, they can perform a set of instructions in a single CPU cycle, which results in extremely efficient data processing. As I mentioned earlier, most database technology that's out there dates back much further than the VectorWise technology, which is relatively new. And because of code complexities, most database technologies simply cannot really take advantage of this capability, but VectorWise does. VectorWise was also written to optimize the use of the chip cache. If you look in any modern server, then you'll notice that chips actually have a significant amount of cache simply on the CPU itself, and the cache is dedicated to a CPU core or maybe to the chip, so the CPU. But as a result of that, first of all, access to that type of memory is much faster, but also because there's fewer contenders for access to memory, there's simply less contention, and hence you can process data much more efficiently if the data or if the software is written such that data processing primarily takes place on the chip as opposed to in RAM. Most existing database technology that's out there makes heavy use of RAM, and frankly VectorWise does so also. But the difference is that VectorWise does not use the RAM for the actual data processing. VectorWise looks at RAM as a high-speed high-speed buffer in front of disk. So VectorWise does persist data on disk and is fully compliant with the ACID properties of any relation, as most relational databases are. But VectorWise uses RAM heavily in order to be able to feed chips very fast, and then it does all its processing on the chip cache and use the memory there very efficiently. Most database technology still relies on RAM. 10, 15 years ago, RAM was the only way you could make efficient use of data processing memory, and most database technology simply still relies on that. Now, in addition to all this breakthrough technology, VectorWise also implements industry-proof techniques for analytical databases. And, well, VectorWise implements some innovations on top of those. If you read the analysts, they'll tell you that for analytic databases, using column-based storage these days is most efficient, more efficient than using row-based storage. Many databases out there still use row-based storage, even analytical databases, but there's also quite a few databases out there that implement columnar storage. VectorWise uses columnar-based storage, but at the same time, VectorWise has implemented a unique way to make updates to the columnar store very efficient. So as a result of that, a traditional drawback of a columnar store, which is having to deal with very inefficient updates to the columnar data, that actually does get pretty efficient with VectorWise. Automatic compression is another feature that's not unique to VectorWise, but it is something that works very well in conjunction with columnar storage, and VectorWise implements this. Many databases require you to specify what type of compression you want. VectorWise doesn't need to know that. VectorWise will analyze the data, and even on a per data block basis, VectorWise will choose the most optimal compression algorithm for you. And so there's nothing you need to do in order to enable this compression. It's always there, and it's always optimal, selected for you by VectorWise. The compression algorithms that VectorWise implements are maybe not the best ones in order to minimize data storage, but VectorWise has chosen compression in order to maximize performance. So the decompression that VectorWise uses is extremely fast, and it has to be, because otherwise data processing cannot perform at the maximum speed, simply because the decompression would become the bottleneck. Next on the list, automatic storage indexes. Again, these are not unique to VectorWise, but they can provide an extreme performance boost simply by limiting the amount of data that needs to be analyzed in order to respond to a query. And then finally, last but not least, at some point any single CPU core can only perform data analysis that fast. If you want to go faster than that, you'll need parallel execution, which is something VectorWise implements as well. So how do we see VectorWise fit into today's architecture? And with that, you should note that VectorWise was launched only in June of 2010, so that's just over a year ago as of today. So VectorWise is still a relatively young technology. There's lots of exciting functionality there, but at the same time, we're conscious of the fact that we're competing with other databases that might have been around for more than 30 years. So how does it fit? It works very well in mid-size firms where VectorWise would be the only database where data gets extracted out of existing systems, put straight into VectorWise, and VectorWise is the data warehouse database that runs the BI and reporting applications. But we see other customers who already have an enterprise data warehouse that is fed through ETL processes from the operational systems, And maybe a certain class of queries or a certain type of access into the enterprise data warehouse is not fast enough. And we see some customers who then choose to extract a portion of the enterprise data warehouse, put it into VectorWise, and then enable very fast reporting and data analysis on that data by using the VectorWise database. So just to highlight the key benefits of using VectorWise, VectorWise provides breakthrough performance, so as a result of that you can get much faster business insights. Queries that used to take minutes suddenly only take seconds, or maybe queries that used to take hours can now complete in minutes. And as a result of that, your users might adopt business intelligence much more widely than they do today, because if you're a manager and you want to do some interactive analysis, if the query response time is in the range of minutes, then nobody is going to wait for every report to take minutes to load. People get distracted and don't use the BI systems in the end. So using VectorWise underneath a BI application would be a good thing, so that you can get wider adoption of business intelligence as a result of that, get better business insights, make better decisions, and make the business more profitable. VectorWise, simply due to great performance, introduces reduced complexity. There's no need for a specific expert schema design, much less need for special tuning, and as a result of that, BI projects can be delivered much faster. VectorWise enables very much affordable business intelligence because, well, you might see that the CPUs on your database server are running at 100% CPU utilization, but the question you should really ask is, okay, what is my software doing, and wouldn't there be a better way to process data, making better use of the hardware resources? And that's what VectorWise enables. So part of that is that you can use a much smaller server to host the same data set, the same number of users, with the same performance characteristics if you use VectorWise compared to any other database technology. And then again, simply the fact that you need less and design and tuning expertise means that you don't need to go out and hire expensive resources in order to do all this work, but you simply rely on much faster, much more efficient software that delivers results. Then finally, last but not least, you'll find that if you go out on the internet, you'll see that there's other databases or other databases that make very similar claims to what I'm making here. But some of these companies have not been around for very long. They're still in a startup phase, and well, in today's industry, in the software industry, you'll see that there's lots of companies that disappear. Either they run out of money, or maybe they get acquired, and you don't know what the future of the technology is. Or, well, you might get great support if you're in a certain region, but if you happen to run into a problem in the middle of the night, what happens? VectorWise technology is brought to you by Ingres, and Ingres is a company that has been around for more than 30 years, and over time Ingres has built up a solid customer base, a 24/7 supporting infrastructure, and as a result of that, the VectorWise technologies simply inherits this infrastructure. So you can get industry-class support 24/7 in your local language, support on the VectorWise database as you could on the Ingres database as well. So that is a great introduction into what the company Ingres is all about. So Ingres, as I mentioned, has been around for a few decades. Ingres has over 10 customers running mission-critical applications. Relational databases, and a well-known analyst company, Gartner, recognizes the value that Ingres can deliver to the market. If you research the latest Magic Quadrant for relational data warehouse or relational database management systems for data warehousing, then you'll see that Gartner put Ingres in the challenges quadrant of the Magic Quadrant, alongside with, well, a well-known company called Microsoft. If you look in the leaders quadrant, you'll see all the large enterprises are listed there: Oracle, IBM, SAP, and well, and Teradata is of course the father of data warehousing, if you like. So they're all in the leaders quadrant, but Ingres made it into the challenges quadrant, ahead of the likes of Vertica, Parexel, Infobright, etc. So that's so this is an analyst company who recognizes Ingres's value of being an enterprise support organization that brings to market a really exciting, really promising technology. Ingres also, with its history in relational databases, already has a number of business intelligence partners. So we're working hard with these partners to get the VectorWise database certified, and some of the companies on this slide have already certified the VectorWise database, and such as Jaspersoft, MicroStrategy, and many of the others. We're working very closely with them to make sure that the VectorWise database will be supported very shortly, if it's not already. So this is very exciting, because that means you can take your existing application that might run against another database today, and you can pick it up tomorrow and simply redirect it to a VectorWise database and get much better performance out of your BI application. Okay, so let me go over to use cases. So as I mentioned earlier, the VectorWise database was launched just over a year ago, and we've seen adoption from quite a few customers across a number of industries. So I selected a few industries, and I'll describe a use case for every one of those industries. So the first industry is the financial market. So Rohatyn Group was, in fact, our very first VectorWise customer. The Rohatyn Group is a hedge fund that's based at Street, and the hedge fund focuses on emerging markets. So Rohatyn Group makes all sorts of investments in emerging markets, and what they want to make sure is that they have relatively low risk at losing all the investment, because of course they invest other people's money and they don't want to lose all of it. In order to optimize their investments and minimize the risks, what the Rohatyn Group do is some position analysis, and based on the analysis they make investment decisions. Rohatyn Group used to have a homegrown in-memory system that would enable this types of analysis, but the homegrown system that, well, as I mentioned, was a memory type database. It certainly was fine, but the analysts wanted to do some historical analysis as well as current position analysis. The old system only provided current positions, and well, there was a demand for historical positions as well. Memory sizes are limited, and Rohatyn Group noticed that, well, in order to scale the homegrown system and allow analysis of historical positions, the system would become prohibitively inexpensive. So what Rohatyn Group did, go out, evaluate various pieces of software, and found out that VectorWise actually met. VectorWise could deliver performance as the in-memory system could, but it didn't actually have to live in memory in order to do so. VectorWise's processing was so efficient, and as a result of that, Rohatyn Group can now analyze historical positions as well as current positions with the same performance characteristics that they were used to today, at a much easier to manage and lower cost. So very great success story there. Another use case in the telco industry, service provider for telcos, and well, service provider. So if you like, they host applications for telcos, and this allows the telcos to then focus on their main business. This particular case was for CDR, so-called detailed record analysis, in order to get more insights into customers and get some customer intelligence in order to identify upsell and cross-sell opportunities. Cross-sell opportunities, and also for customers who are telcos, obviously, in order to provide a very competitive offering to the market. Qvantel had been working with some of the smaller telcos, but in fact one of the telcos in Spain it had so much data that simply database technology that was used was not enough and not scalable enough to provide the performance that the customer needed. So Qvantel went out, evaluated VectorWise, and found out that VectorWise can scale much and deliver much faster performance than the existing solution they were using, and hence they selected VectorWise as the way forward for their larger customers, and eventually migrate all their customers to the VectorWise database. A third industry where we've got some exciting use cases is in utilities. DataMatics is the company DataMatics out of I should say, because DataMatics is a fairly large global corporation, and this particular use case comes out of Germany. Globally, well, at least globally, in the United States and in various countries in Europe, the utilities are required to implement meters, and of the utility want to choose to implement so-called smart meters. What smart meters do is they measure the energy use at least on an hourly basis, and that's in order to better be able to balance energy use. Traditionally, or certainly in the United States, what I'm familiar with, the meters are only report a data point once every month, and this is in fact not an automatic measurement, but rather a measurement that is done manually. So somebody goes out to simply read the meter on a once-a-month basis. Smart meters do it hourly, so suddenly from a once-a-month data point into an hourly data point, and as a result of that, the amount of data suddenly explodes. Now, why do utilities want to measure energy use on such a low-scale basis? Is simply because, as a result of that, power and power purchase, if that's what's required, can be balanced much better, because you know the data is at a much more granular level, but also you can try to start steering the use of energy as well. For example, in California, the utility company in the mid-summer, they don't run your washer and dishwasher during the day, simply because during the day organizations and even consumers start running their air conditioner, and as a result there is a massive use of energy in the midst of the day simply to cool down buildings. So the energy company wants you to use more energy at night as opposed to throughout the day, when there is already a heavy use of energy. Steering the use of energy can prevent outages, but on a larger scale, what it could mean for the utilities company is that they can postpone or maybe even completely avoid having to make a massive investment into building a new power plant, simply because, hey, they can steer consumer behavior, and as a result of that, there's less need for excessive or extra power generation. So those are all great reasons why these want to implement smart meters, but as I mentioned, smart meters introduce a data explosion. DataMatics is an IT service provider for many industries, but specifically in this use case for utilities. So what they do is similar to what Q1Tel does for telcos. DataMatics hosts IT systems for utilities. In many countries this doesn't make a lot of sense, but in Germany certainly it does, because the utilities in Germany are much smaller firms compared to most countries. So some of these utilities simply cannot afford an infrastructure to start analyzing smart meter type data, but because DataMatics is an IT service provider, they can do this on a much more scalable level for multiple of their customers. And so what DataMatics are building is a system for analysis of smart meter data running VectorWise. So this is a hosted cloud-based solution that is available for small utilities, storing all the data for these utilities. Another use in the e-commerce space, GSI. So GSI is an e-commerce platform provider. They provide lots of e-commerce services, such as, well, if on your website you want to implement some shopping cart type of system, and you want to make sure that you can do payment processing, etc., then GSI Commerce could provide that service to you. What GSI also then provides is infomercial analysis. So you might run a campaign, and you can choose to, well, imagine you've got a fixed budget to run a campaign, and what you want to do is well, find out what's the most optimal use of your budget. So for example, you could run an ad campaign at the middle of the night for a local TV station, which is probably relatively low cost, so you can get many advertising minutes for a relatively low price. But of course the audience you're going against is probably fairly limited as well, considering the time of the day it is at the local TV station. So what GSI Commerce provides is a way to do these types of commercial analyses where you can relate particular orders to infomercials, and as a result of that, that enables you to then optimize your market budget. GSI Commerce used to provide, or well, has always provided, a data analysis platform, but the performance was relatively poor, and VectorWise simply could provide much better performance. Now, in addition to that, VectorWise actually allows GSI Commerce to host a lot more data for their customers, so that the analysis can go further back and data patterns can be identified much further than they used to be able to do. So get much better performance with a larger scale of data at a more attractive price. That is what what GSI Commerce experienced, and so they chose VectorWise to move forward. Now, GSI Commerce is a US-based firm, and a few months ago, eBay actually announced that they were going to acquire GSI Commerce. Then the final use case is media. This is again a use case out of Europe. NASA Plaza is a social media site in Poland. In Poland, this site is significantly more popular than, well, a fairly well-known social media site called Facebook. What NASA Plaza is simply maximize their advertising revenue and make sure that the user experience is optimal. And in order to achieve those objectives, they want to do analytics. So they want to analyze, well, what is the user behavior? How many clicks do we place a particular ad in a spot on the website. So they do heavy analytics. They generate and store an awful lot of data, some of which goes into VectorWise in order to do all this type of detailed analysis, again, to maximize revenues and to optimize the experience. So again, a very, very exciting use case. So having got use cases, let me walk you through and then discuss what I would suggest as next steps before we open it up for questions and answers. Okay, so this is a slide before, but let me just summarize here. So what does VectorWise provide? Performance. This delivers faster business insight through performance, might deliver more scalability, as you've seen in some of the use cases, but overall it gives you a very solid way to get faster business insight. VectorWise can deliver reduced complexity so that you can deliver your projects faster. You need to do less tuning, and well, because of that, the third bullet point, you actually achieve more affordable business intelligence. VectorWise, because of its efficient data processing, makes better use of the hardware, and you don't need hardware otherwise in order to very fast query performance. Less tuning, less specific is required, so as a result of that you don't need to hire expensive expertise and still get good performance. Your machine is busy, but your machine is actually busy delivering query results rather than, well, simply performing in data processing and looking busy. And last but certainly not least, VectorWise technology is brought to you by a company that's been around for a couple of decades and that has a history of supporting mission-critical data applications all over the world, and it provides support for the VectorWise database. So with that, where can you go for more information, or what should you do, or what would I suggest you do next? I wouldn't suggest you buy the VectorWise database right here, because what I think really the power of VectorWise is that you'll be amazed by its performance. So we allow you to be amazed, really. So you can go on the site and you can download the software for free. You get a 30-day evaluation license included with the download. So you should try to run your existing application against VectorWise. See what you think. See what you might achieve, or think about what VectorWise could do to your organization, whether you could store more data or implement different applications, or well, maybe support more users. I don't know. Run your existing applications against VectorWise and see what you think, and then decide how you want to move forward. There's more information on our website. Lots of resources freely available. You can ask questions from the community on the forum, and if you are genuinely excited and you think that VectorWise is a great technology that you should use for your production system, certainly then I would suggest you contact us and purchase support for your database, so that whenever you would run into a problem, you'll have an expert there to help you out, make sure that your business moves forward. So with that, I wanted to open it up for questions and answers. So if there's any questions, please submit questions through the panel, or if there's any questions over the phone, then I'll be happy to address those. But let me just hand it back to the moderator for now. Thank you.
Ok, muchas gracias Marc por tu presentación. Efectivamente, si queréis hacer alguna pregunta podéis hacerla vía voz, para lo cual lo que necesito es que me levantéis la mano accionando el botón que pone Raise Your Hand, o también podéis escribirlas en donde pone questions en el chat y yo se la trasladaré al ponente. Bueno, mientras os animáis a hacer alguna pregunta, a mí me gustaría preguntar a Mark, bueno, y a Dean. Dean, te voy a abrir el micrófono. Dean, ¿estás ahí? Dean?
Yes, can you hear me?
Ok, sí, sí, te escuchamos, Dean.
Sí.
Vale, a ver, me gustaría saber, Dean, bueno, I will ask in English. I would like to know what is your partner strategy now? With which kind of partners are you working now internationally? And if it is possible, Dean, if you can explain us a little bit about your partners here in Spain.
Yeah, I think Mark is probably better positioned. But what I can say is, we're looking at ISVs and bars, and we have actually made contact with a possible bar here in Spain. We've had a meeting recently. They use Pentaho, and they have some well-known companies here in Spain. So we're probably going to work with them in a few months, but it won't be an exclusive venture.
Yeah, maybe I can add to that, but to what Dean just said. So what we want to do from a corporate point of view is make sure that we certify the BI tools, and we're working hard through the list. So for example, as I mentioned, Jaspersoft, Yellowfin, Talent, MicroStrategy, these companies already certify tools against VectorWise, and then as Dean mentioned, we see a lot of interest from maybe systems integrators or value-added resellers who then want to put together a solution or an offering for their customers, because of course if you're a systems integrator and your customer needs to spend less on the hardware to implement BI solution, they need to spend on maybe the software that they use to implement the solution, then hey, there's suddenly more budget available for value-added services, and that of course would be of interest to systems integrators or value-added resellers.
We know that there are some of the competence that you mentioned before are or has offer or are offering some kind of appliance in which they put the software, the database. What do you think about this kind of product? Because your product is not an appliance; it's a database by itself. What are your opinion about this kind of appliance product that are offering other vendors?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, well, there is definitely advantages and disadvantages to providing an appliance. So let me start with the big benefit that I see of an appliance, which is, well, you simply plug it in and it starts working. So that makes it really easy to adopt the software or the solution, if you like. Now, what you see if you look at details for some of these appliances, then what some vendors have done is implement specific optimizations on the appliance, and as a result it gets a little complicated to evaluate the software, because the only way to then evaluate the software is to simply well, is to get an appliance, and an appliance, well, it's certainly an affordable way once you've chosen to run it in production, but before you can actually evaluate whether you would want to use it in production, you need to get the entire appliance, and that's the only way to do it. I think we see quite a bit of interested users try simply because it's relatively easy to just get a hold of it, and it runs on a standard server, it runs in the cloud, it can run in a virtual machine. it's relatively easy to say, well, okay, I've got the environment. It's just a mainstream x86 based server, whether it's Intel or AMD, it doesn't matter. It's very easy to try the software, and only after you've tried it you want to make a purchase decision. Now that said, who knows? Maybe we will at some point have an appliance offering in addition to our software only offering today, or this is in fact an opportunity for a partner as well, where the partner could say, look, VectorWise promising technology. What I'm going to do is pre-configure a hardware-software combination that runs VectorWise, and I am going to bring that to market at a certain price. And this is certainly we'd be open to work with a partner like that.
Are you doing better in some? You mentioned before some of your uses, your case uses case. I think it's very interesting in this kind of product to know real cases, no? But are you doing better in some sectors than in others? Maybe bank, or maybe e-commerce, as you mentioned before, or not? It is so spread it.
Yeah, there is. We do see somewhat of a pattern. So we're doing. I think if you look at the top three, it's probably the financial industry, followed by close second either telco or e-commerce. The part of the reason we see some more traction in one industry versus the other is probably because of Ingres's background, where quite a few of the existing Ingres customers are financial industries customers. So that ought to, because if they're an existing customer, then obviously it's somewhat easier for us to start the VectorWise conversation, and those customers are on the mailing list, so they see more information. So whilst we see some more adoption, and certainly for the early adopters of VectorWise in the financial industry, I don't think that there is necessarily a particular pattern. Actually, one that's really strong up and coming is the DataMatics use case, where we've seen a few other utilities that come to us and ask about VectorWise specifically for smart meter type analysis.
What about the policy, the licensing policy that you have commercially? How are you selling the product? It is by CPU or something like that?
At this point, VectorWise is priced on a per CPU core basis, and we provide both subscription licenses as well as perpetual licenses. So the perpetual license would be a higher upfront cost, with then a year-over-year maintenance for those years where you want support, but then at least you've got the perpetual license, versus a subscription basis, which is well, the upfront cost is lower, but then the annual payment year-over-year is the same for as long as you want to use the software. And of course, when you end your subscription, that ends the license agreement for the use of the product.
Okay, last question. I would like to know from Dean and Mark, what is your presence in South America, in Latin America? Because we have okay, a lot of people from there, from South America. Do you have any kind of presence there?
I know we have a few customers, certainly Ingres customers in Latin America. Unfortunately, we don't yet have a VectorWise customer in Latin America, but that would be, I think, a great opportunity for partners to position VectorWise in Latin America, because, of course, certainly countries like, well, most certainly Brazil, but also Argentina, Chile, all these countries are really up and coming, and I think there's a great opportunity down there. I don't know, Dean, if you have anything to add to that.
No, I think what you said is correct. We do have a considerable number of Ingres users, especially in Brazil. We see that increasing, and we've been in touch with one or two partners, our possible partners in the past few years. So perhaps this is a new opportunity for partners and companies in South America to be involved in Ingres and VectorWise.
Okay, so so thank you very much, Mark and Dean, for your time. The webinar, as I explained before, will be has been recorded and it will be published in some hours in our network portals. Muchas gracias a los dos. Esperamos veros en una próxima ocasión por aquí, tanto a los asistentes como a los ponentes. Un saludo a todos. Goodbye.
Thank you.